Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an advanced Dungeons and Dragons hack on Nystul's Magic Aura. There are many spells listed in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook and the Unearthed Arcana, which seem innocuous and almost worthless. But it's only when you sit down and brainstorm the various situations in which these spells can be used that you really come to appreciate the simplicity that they embrace. They're so simple they can be useful in a variety of ways. Let's just leave it like that. Nystul's Magic Aura is a first level spell. You can find it in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook on page 67. Note two things from the get-go. The duration is 1 day per level. So it's got a reasonable duration. It's a useful duration. And the area of effect is 50 gold pieces per level. That's 5 pounds per level, because it's 10 coins per pound. The basic gist of this spell is that it gives common items a magical aura so that they appear as magical to a detect magic ability or spell. Now note that the book does not say detect magic spell. It says that if they employ a detect magic ability or something like that. It doesn't specifically say spell, so a type of a psionic detect magic will still detect it. The natural ability to detect magic, like for barbarians and whatnot, that it'll show up as magical. Okay. At first glance, the spell seems limited at best, but in certain situations, this spell can literally be a lifesaver. At lower levels, I've used this spell to make common items seem magical. I sell the item, which I claim not to know what it does, which, it's just a normal item that looks magical, for a paltry sum. Now, since it is magical, the sum is considerably more than for a standard item of that type. For example, a common dagger runs, as I recall, something like 2 gold pieces, but if it's a magical one, it can run 1,000. So you can sell it for 500 and have a nice little payday. But make sure when you do that, you buy the items that you need and get the hell out of Dodge before the duration runs out. Because it's a quick way to make a fast bag of coinage, but there are risks because if the buyer is savvy and makes a savings throw, he could see through the ruse. Also, any buyer that gets this and then realizes they've been duped is going to be very angry when the duration runs out. Okay? Because it's going to run out. It's just you wouldn't make it a waste a permanency spell on this. So in a day or two or whenever it runs out, they're going to realize they've been duped, and you're going to become a target. So you got to be careful how you do this. You never want to sell it to somebody you can't beat in a fight. I know that sounds harsh, but there you go. if you're hard up for cash, that's one way to go. You also don't want to sell the item to somebody who can probably discern it. You see what I'm saying? Somebody with more money than brains or levels, essentially. You're looking for a mark. Beyond that basic function, I've used Nystul's Magic Aura to delay enemy combatants while the group made a hasty retreat. The group was running down a corridor. We came to a door. We got through the door and slammed it shut. The fighter was barring the door, and I cast Nystul's Magic Aura on the door, and at 8th level, the flimsy wooden door fell within my weight limit. The flimsy wooden door suddenly became, quote-unquote, trapped with a, quote-unquote, magical aura. While the opposing spellcasters tried to work out what the trap was and then worked to dispel the trap, quote-unquote, trap, we made good our escape. In that situation, it was important to make a show of chanting and casting loudly as the lead elements of the pursuing force began trying to force the door open. They heard the casting and called their spellcasters forward to discern what I had done. While they were trying to figure out what was going on, we ran like hell. Other uses are as distractions and as teaching tools. So you can use it to teach a lower level spellcaster how to cast detect magic, that kind of thing, without risking, and you don't actually have to have a magic item for that. If you cast Nystul's Magic Aura on a stone, and throw it over by somebody who can detect magic, it could distract them long enough for you to make a getaway. The uses there are limited, but I have used Nystul's magic aura to great effect in serious situations. Most spells in advanced Dungeons and Dragons have a variety of uses, and many of those uses are situational. I found that spending a few hours working through possible situations and scenarios in your mind will reveal a ton of alternate uses for very basic and seemingly useless spells. But then, many times I've come up with new uses on the fly, pulling it out of my ass, so to speak. Now, do not discount any magical spell as useless. They may simply need a situation to arise in which their uses become apparent. And again, whenever I'm rolling up a first level magic user and I'm determining my spell book, I try to go for spells that are more useful in general circumstances. So Nystul's magic aura probably wouldn't be my first try, on my list the first time I go through the book. But if I've got spell slots open and I need to get more spells because I have to have a minimum of X amount, and I've gone through and tried all these other spells, then yeah, maybe Nystul's magic aura might be on my second or third pass. So just keep that in mind. If you enjoy my content, it would really help me out if you could hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share my content on all of your social media platforms, and post a comment or two. Remember, I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. And check me out over on Rumble for my political commentary and weekly current events. If you enjoy a good book, check out my author page on Amazon.com. My pen name is H.L. Anderson. You can find all of my books there, including the one pictured here, Outlaw Trails. I designed this role-playing game. It's available on my author page. You can get it and play it. I designed this. This is a role-playing in the Old West. You get to go on cattle drives and chase down outlaws, have gunfights and fistfights and, saloon brawls. I designed the game to be so simple, beginning game masters who have never even played before should be able to pick this book up and within a few hours be able to run a game. Not just play, but run. I designed this so that families can play in a familiar setting. There's no magic, there's no monsters or anything like that. I suppose it could be easily modified, but I designed it to be as realistic as possible to give new players a frame of reference. So if you enjoy the Old West and you want to get into tabletop role-playing and you have a group that wants to play but none of them you ever played before, you're all brand new to it, Outlaw Trails is perfect for you. You need the book and some dice, and you're good to go. You can order all of it online. It can be shipped directly to your house. Isn't that awesome? I'm not a fan of Amazon, but damn, they're so damn convenient. All right, that's all I got for this one. I hope this finds everybody well, and I hope these D&D videos are helpful. You folks have a good one. God bless one and all.